Let's talk about your team. Another victory this weekend, the first two-time tournament winners in CDL this season. How proud are you of this team, and particular some of the players that have really stepped up since the online format? I'm looking right at Shotzi, for example.
Yeah, I can't say enough about him. It reminds me a lot of the teammates that I had last year in Simp and Abizi, where you got these kind of younger dudes who are really hungry to prove themselves and really, motivated and passionate about what they're doing. Basically, just trying to prove to everyone out there that like they're one of the best players in the world. And to see the way that Shotzi has improved and Ilya has improved and Hook has improved, and even the way that Krim has kind of integrated working with me and not being the head honcho all the time. Like it's really cool to see all of us like we're kind of meeting in the middle everywhere. Like we're all meshing together. Everybody has a voice on the team and everybody understands that we're just trying to get better. Like, yeah, of course we're going to yell at each other sometimes in practice. Like that's the nature of a competitive team in any sport or esport. Like everyone's passionate about winning. So when somebody makes a mistake, it needs to be called out. But the way they use that and kind of use that um like somebody yelling at him and turn it into like, oh, this guy just wants me to get better. He just wants us to be the greatest in the world. So I'm going to listen to that instead of, getting angry and kind of just shutting down. And all of those kids are just, Shotzi, Ilya, and Hook are just awesome teammates. They're really good people and they're amazing players. And so for us to come out and win LA on land, it was awesome. Everybody was so excited. They were so happy. And, Shotzi's first tournament win in COD, Hook's first tournament win in COD, Illy's first win in COD. I was happier for them than I was for myself for winning the tournament. I felt like a proud father in a way. So then to kind of continue that on and have a dip in performance at the Dallas home series and then bring it right back and beat the Chicago Huntsmen and the Atlanta FaZe to win our next tournament. It just says a lot about our team. It says a lot about our resilience, and it says a lot about who we are as people and as players. That you can knock us down, but we're going to come back firing on all cylinders the next tournament.
Obviously, one of the big storylines coming into this season was Dallas versus Chicago. The players having played where they were, former teammates, whatever it is, two of the strongest teams in the league. And now the most recent result, 3-0 sweep. And now the storyline is Dallas is the cream of the crop in Call of Duty League along with Atlanta. And Chicago seem to have struggles. What I want to ask is like, take me into what the rivalry is for Dallas at this time. Like how do you guys approach a game with Chicago? They don't scrim with you. You've mentioned that. Like what is this rivalry today?
Yeah, it's interesting, the dynamic between our two teams, and I think that Crim Six definitely fueled the fire a lot at the beginning of the year. And if there's some players you don't want to make angry, it's the players on Chicago Huntsmen. And I think Crim was a little too cocky in that regards at the beginning of the year and kind of fueled their fire a little too hard. And I think me and the other three guys on our team kind of got roped into it in a way. Like if you look at my relationship with the players on the Huntsmen, Arcides was I just won a world championship with him last year. We're still really good friends. Scump and I are really great friends and have been for a decade pretty much. Like I'm actually quite good friends with a lot of those players. And same thing with, the young guys on my team. Like they don't really have any personal hatred towards the Chicago Huntsmen or the fan base or any of that. It's so I think for us, there's not as big of a rivalry as the media and everybody likes to make it seem. I think it's more so they're one of our greatest competitors. Like they're one of the best competition we have, and we want to beat them because not only did they beat us 3 times already this year, but having as big a fan base as they do, we felt the wrath of that. Like we all day, every day, in our Twitter mentions and our YouTube comments and
Wow.
everywhere, our streams. It's just it's hard to deal with sometimes, and so we're really seeing it as kind of like a vengeance tour. Like, hey, we just want to beat them to kind of give it back to them. I don't think there's any personal stuff except for maybe between Krim and the guys over on the Huntsman. And really for the rest of us, it's just, hey, we want to beat these guys because all the trash they talked.
Does Krim still have the poster up?
I don't probably not. Probably not.
Let me ask you just one question, and then I'll ask one more about Dallas. You also played with Prestinni, right? And Prestini's in a very interesting situation. And I'm only asking this because you do give your opinion about things around the league. You talked about Pander on the podcast, for example. What do you think happens with Prestini and Florida? Do you think he stays on the bench? Do you think he gets traded? Your gut, your opinion. What do you think happens there?
I think Preston is too competitive of a player to sit on a bench. Like, I teamed with him last year. I've teamed with him for it was almost 3 years. I was on a team with him, which is crazy long time in Call of Duty. Like, if you're teaming with somebody multiple years like that. So I know him better than I know a lot of people. And, if you would have asked me a year ago, I probably would say Preston isn't a choice that you really want to make on your team just because of kind of the attitude he brings. He's a very emotional player. But I think that winning playoffs last year and winning champs last year has given him the confidence in himself that he needed. And that was always the big thing with Preston is that he was always just like beating himself up over small mistakes and, always just down on himself. And so then I think that winning those two tournaments, especially winning a Call of Duty championship, not very many people have rings.
Hmm.
And I think it's given him that confidence to where he's so sure of himself now. He's riding that line between like cockiness and confident, where that's where you want to be as a competitor. And then talking about like who he is as a player, he's insanely good at what he does. And so, if I'm any of the teams that's struggling right now or looking to make a change, like Prestinni would be at the top of my list. Like I
Hmm.
think right now, especially with him being benched, taking some time to himself and really just focusing on him as a person. He's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder now. I mean, he's a defending world champion. Like he needs to prove to everybody again that he is a world champion and he is one of the best players in the world. So really, I think people are making a mistake looking over Preston, and I think that they need to be taking like a very hard, deep interview with him or something to get him on their squad because he would be an asset to any of the teams that is really looking to turn things around.